Good evening everyone, another biology video from me, this time on the topic of succession. Real shame actually that we're not in college for this, because usually for this lesson I'd actually take you out for a walk around the college grounds, because really succession is best taught out in nature. As it is, I'll have to take you out for a walk around the streets of Yeovil instead of a virtual walk around the streets of Yeovil. Just before I do so, just a minute or two sat at my trusty desk introducing the topic, however. Right, I previously set you the task of doing this sheet 1.5.7a, but at the time I said only do it down to this term biomass. Leave the remainder for later. Well, later has arrived. I now want you to do the remaining terms. It's just a matching exercise to remind you of succession. Just choose one of these to match it up with the same for all of the others. Now, once you have successfully matched those up, and if you're wondering how am I meant to know that, well, have a look at the SCool website that I set you. This explains or gives you a quick bit of background information on succession and explains all those terms, so that's the first thing to do. And even prior to today, you should have completed all the note sheet except the final page. You can now go on to copy those definitions onto the final page of the note sheets. Right, anyway, as I said just now, let's go out and about to learn a little more about succession. As I'm out and about, got to keep your eyes peeled. I'm going to show you some wonders of nature out there. Whoa! Just look at that, eh? Just look at these beauties. One of the true wonders of nature, these are. What are they, for starters? What's he going on about? Some of you are thinking it's just a bit of stone, isn't it? No, it's the top of a little wall actually, but it's what's growing on it I care about. What about this and these amazing creatures? I say creatures, not the right word really. They are lichens. What is a lichen? You might be thinking, are they plants? They're clearly multicellular organisms. Are they plants? Are they fungi? They don't move, they're probably not animals. The answer is they're both a fungus and a plant. Several amazing things about these. One, they're a classic case of what's often called symbiosis or mutualism. Two organisms living together for their mutual benefit. Now, a lichen, the main body that you can see is a fungus, but living within the fungal hyphae are single-celled algae. It's the algae which carry out photosynthesis, which provide the lichen with nutrition, because after all, they're not going to get anything out of bare stone, no nutrition to be had there. What's in it for the algae? Well, they get a safe, secure, sheltered place to live. The body of the lichen helps to trap bits of water, little water for it as well. Now, other amazing thing about lichens, apart from the fact that they can live on bare stone or rock, the only organism which can, well, that is the other amazing thing about them. But also, they're the first stage in what's known as a primary succession. The sort of colonization by life of totally bare rock. Now, these lichens attach themselves to the rocks with tiny holdfasts. Those holdfasts, as they dig into the rock, very slowly crumble it away, just a tiny bit. And by crumbling the rock away, they create a tiny bit of sediment. The lichens will eventually die. And when they die, they add a bit of organic matter to that sediment. In other words, you've got a basic soil. Then soil is basically just a mixture of sand and clay, two types of sediment, plus humus, which is decaying organic matter, not to be confused with hummus, a Middle Eastern chickpea spread, humus with one M, decaying organic matter, which really contains all the sort of nutrients within the soil, the sort of sediment, the sand and clay gives it structure, plus of course you've got some water and air in the soil. The lichens will create a tiny bit of sediment, and then when they die, add a tiny bit of humus. They create a tiny amount of soil. Now, more lichens around here, just growing on the tarmac of the car park actually. Well, what are these dark patches in amongst them? That is actually patches of moss. No surprise you've got some moss there. Moss are, right up close to it, the second stage of succession. Just moved and found a slightly better patch of moss. Now, moss cannot grow on bare rock. They need a tiny amount of soil, but the lichens create that for them. As we said, once the lichens have loosened the surface a bit, added a tiny amount of soil, it allows mosses to move in. Well, you know, after all, you can pull up a bit of moss and you see at the bottom of it that there is indeed a tiny bit of soil there. Mosses can't grow on bare rock, but they can grow on just a tiny amount of soil. And they would generally be the second thing to move in. Once the lichens have created a bit of soil, by creating that bit of soil, they bring about their own demise. They allow mosses to move in and smother the lichens and outcompete them. Another interesting fact about mosses, actually, is their method of reproduction. Now, as I'm sure you're well aware, most plants reproduce using pollen, the male gametes. Pollen, the male gametes, produced on the anthers of flowers like this, is carried by insects to other flowers where the pollen will then be brushed off onto the stigma, travel down to the ovule where it fertilises the ovule, etc. Other plants, such as these grasses here, still produce pollen, but they just don't bother producing colourful flowers. They still have flowers, by the way, but just don't have any petals on the flowers. They will still have anthers which produce pollen, which is blown by the wind to the stigma of other grass plants. But there's not how mosses do it. This moss that you can see here, I'm afraid to say, it reproduces using an incredibly primitive method. You'll be shocked when you learn what a primitive method of reproduction they use, particularly what a primitive form of male gamete they use. Do you know what their male gametes are? Sperm. Can you believe such a primitive method of reproduction? Mosses produce swimming sperm, which have to swim from one moss plant to another to fertilise the female gametes on another moss plant. Swim, yeah. So they're only released when it rains, and that's why moss are confined to damp places. They need water to reproduce. Most other plants long since done away with such a primitive method of reproduction. Anyway, what do the mosses do? Well, mosses put tiny rootlets into the stone below them, through their little bit of soil into the stone, loosening up the stone a bit more, eroding it a bit more. Of course, they die as well, adding a little more humus as well, and they create a slightly greater depth of soil. What does that allow to move in? Well, you can see it in action right here. Grass is the next thing to move in. Grass needs slightly deeper soil than mosses. You can see succession happening right here at the edge of a little car park. The moss here has created, well, slightly deeper soil, allowing grasses to move in. This moss's days are probably numbered. In a few years, probably it will get smothered by more grass. They bring about their own demise in the end by their work. Yeah, of course it doesn't end there. Grasses can take over a bit of land and they just continue the same process. They put even deeper roots down, eroding any rock a bit more. They die, adding more organic matter to the soil. The soil becomes deeper and deeper. What moves in then? Small shrubs. We've got it going on here. Some grasses at the edge. Move back. You got a load of shrubs, mostly blackberry bushes in this case, and they would be the fourth stage of succession. These stages of succession, by the way, the proper term given to them is seers. The first stage of succession, lichens, are called the pioneer community because they're the first things to grow on bare rock. The moss is the second stage, or the second seer. Then you get to grasses, then you get to bushes and shrubs being the fourth seer, and the whole thing continues. They put even deeper roots down. They themselves add more organic matter to the soil. When they die, they drop a lot. Even if they don't die, they drop a lot of leaves down. The amount of organic matter continues to grow, and eventually you can get trees moving in. But trees move in a specific order as well. More succession going on here, by the way. The grasses growing at the edge here, gradually being smothered out by some shrubs taking over behind them. Now, succession starts with pioneer species like lichens. They're the only things that grow on bare rocks. The fifth stage is often referred to as pioneer trees, the first type of tree that can move in. Classic example of a pioneer tree is this one, really recognisable by its bark. Don't even need to show you the leaves. Shame on you if you cannot name this type of tree. It is, of course, a silver birch. We'll go a bit closer and have a little look at what's at the leaves and the fruits. Here we are. Now, silver birch can move in as pioneer trees and start taking over from sort of grasses and shrubs, largely for two reasons. One, they can grow on fairly poor quality soils, fairly thin, nutrient poor soils. That allows one reason they can move in where the other trees couldn't survive. Second thing that enables them to move in is the fact that their seeds are dispersed by the winds. Their pollen is as well, actually. In fact, birch pollen produced sort of around April and May is one of the significant causes of hay fever, especially around that time of year. But it's the fact their seeds are wind dispersed that really allows them to act as pioneer trees, because they can travel far and wide. Other trees such as oak trees, which we'll move on to in a minute, they need animals to disperse their seeds, and the animals that eat their seeds only live where other oak trees are, which means oak trees can only very slowly spread their range. But birch trees, whose seeds are dispersed by the wind, can spread sort of more rapidly and more widely, and these seeds can be travelled miles, sometimes from the parent tree. A bit windy out here, but there's some fruits on here, not fully mature as yet, not the type of fruit you'd want to eat, I know, but let's have a closer look at one. Here we are, broken open one of the fruits for you there, and if I turn it up, get the orientation right, hopefully you can see some seeds in there. Focus isn't great, let me just adjust it. There, that's a lot better. See the developing seeds within that? When this fruit is fully ripe, it would release those seeds. Only does it later in the year, actually, and they can spread far and wide, be nice and small, easily carried by the winds. Right, so sort of pioneer trees such as birches would be the fifth stage of succession. We've got one more to look at. Right, here we are, final stage of succession. Classic symbol of England, this, isn't it? The mighty oak tree. say it's a fairly youngish one, this, actually. But anyway, oak trees can move in after the birch. The birches, by the way, they're big, strong trees. They can grow big, strong roots. Those big, strong roots can go down, helping to break up the subsurface rock and make even more sediment. They'll also drop loads of leaves, of course, onto the ground and add to the depth of the soil from the top, adding more humus. And they can gradually make deeper soils, allowing sort of what's called the climax community. The natural climax community in this country, if man doesn't interfere with it, over most of the country, it must be said, not quite all of it. Parts of northern Scotland this wouldn't apply to, where coniferous trees would be the climax community. There are other parts like moorland where the soils never get deep enough to allow trees. You get high on hills, you can go above the tree lines, you don't get trees. Certain chalk lands, trees don't grow well, where they get dominated by grassland. But over most of England, if man did not interfere, it would be covered by mature forest, a climax community forest as it's called, consisting mostly of oak and beech trees. Those are, of course, the classic shape of the oak leaf there. See if there's a beech tree around, which can often be found sort of in large quantities in England in mature forests. Right, taking me a few minutes, but here we are. There's the classic beech leaves for you. Again, a youngish beech tree here, but they're also found, as I say, in large numbers in the climax forest, often called sort of oak beech. Is the climax community of England. Right, that's it for our little walk. Just back to my little office for a final few minutes in a second. But before I go back there, how about you lot? Heading out for your own little succession walk. Get out yourselves. Can you find all these 6 stages, lichens, mosses, grasses, shrubs, birch trees, oak and beech trees? Give it a go. Even better, take a memory of your family out with you and bore them. When I talk about boring them, it's not boring, is it? It's fascinating. Fascinate them with a good talk on all of this stuff yourselves. Okay. Right, pleasant little early evening walk. Right, now here I am back inside. Stages in succession, you'll have been sent the sort of stages as an attachment. It's up to you to arrange them into order, but that's really very easy after you've watched the video. Write them out into this space, please, unless you want to cut and stick them. One small bit right at the bottom of the note sheet. Well, take a wild guess at what's got a greater biodiversity. A few bits of lichen growing on some bare rock, or a mature forest. No prizes for guessing that. Right, that would then finish the topic 1.5 notes. Our aim is to finish the entire topic. This will be the last video on it. All that will remain after this is to do one last sheet. Right, it's 1.5 question sheet. You should have done all of the questions on the sheet itself, 1 to 8 already. At the end of it, there were some various other sheets I asked you to complete. You should have done all of those, actually, except 1.5.12. So you can now go ahead and do that sheet, please. Sheet 1.5.12 can be found there on Moodle. I'll attach it to the email just to make it convenient for you as well. If you 1.5.7a I referred to earlier is also there, although really you should have opened that one already. But anyway, let's have a quick look at 1.5.12. Despite what it says on my question sheet, it's not only worth 10 marks, it's worth 20 actually. There's 2 10-mark questions. They're both essay questions. Always good for you to get to practice essay questions. Now, the first one, the key with questions such as this is be really thorough and make sure you answer every part of it. What is meant by the flow of energy through an ecosystem? Answer that part. Plan out your answer before you start writing on the sheet. What's meant by the flow of energy? Secondly, describe how energy is lost at each stage. Thirdly, comment on the efficiency of the transfers and suggest reasons for the differences in efficiency which you may observe. So we'll go at that one. Now, the second one is more straightforward, really. Using the terms community and succession, suggest how the land would have changed. Part 2, and it's slightly harder, how has human activity affected the natural succession of plants and animals? Now, for the first part, I mean, you could pretty much just write out what you'll have written onto your note sheet, but if you just copy it out, it's a bit pointless. What I'd suggest you do is revise your notes on succession and then try to answer that without referring to your notes. Be far more useful that way. And if you're wondering a little bit about this second bit, how is human activity affected? Well, I've already made it clear that over most of England you would just have woodland. If humans did not interfere, we do interfere, so much of England is not covered by woodland. You can sort of explain why we interfere and what we grow over much of the land instead, the reasons why we interfere and what we put there instead. Okay. Right, once you're done with that, you are finished with topic 1.5. And this should hopefully be the final video I have to make for you for the year. Actually, I will set you one final task, a large sort of project which we ask people to start now and complete over the summer, relating to the next topic 1.6, but we'll set you that next week. But there's one other thing that I will ask you to do. Now, we had a Zoom lesson last Wednesday. We'll be having another one this Wednesday. This time we'll be covering population growth curves and sampling techniques in the one on Wednesday. Right, so that's a couple of things before that Zoom lesson next Wednesday. One, just have a little review of the first parts of the note sheet on populations there. Also, the top bit of page 2 on the factors affecting population size, and then this bit on sampling techniques, quadrats and transits, which I asked you to do earlier this week. Finally, right, this directed study, earlier this week I asked you to complete the task for these 2 weeks. You should certainly have done that by now already, and if not, do it as soon as possible, please. Now what I'd like you to do is just one more week's task, this one for the 18.5 before Wednesday, please. So try to complete all of this work before Wednesday. That's the note sheet, the 1.5.12 sheet, and this directed study there. Okay, that's it from me. Bye then.